Friday, welcome to Donu's World. So, I can't believe what I'm hearing, but I gotta believe it because it's been in all the Nigerian newspapers and several foreign newspapers as well. Prince Harry of Windsor, the controversial member of the British royal family, is coming to Nigeria with his bride, Meghan, the Black American Duchess of Sussex, being the title she acquired on her marriage. So, am I excited? I mean, some Nigerians are. I'm not, for two reasons. First of all, I'm not a royalist. I mean, I just don't believe in monarchy. I think it has no real place in the 21st century. Wherever the monarch comes from, I mean, even within Nigeria, I mean, I come from a family that's kind of royal, though our own royalty is very different from what you find in Europe. But, you know, I just think, you know, it's a bit outdated. But I love my king, because he's my cousin. And I respect the British people's rights to have a king and queen and princesses and princes if that's what they want. It's not the most harmful thing to want in life. So, I'm not excited because it's not my thing. The second reason why I'm not excited is because I thoroughly disapprove of Harry and Meghan. I know that a lot of people feel sorry for them. They listen to Meghan's tales of woe about having been through terrible racism at the hands of the British media and the British royal family and British establishment. And, you know, I just can't help thinking that she exaggerated a lot of this stuff because she just didn't want that life. I mean, this is my take on the decision of Harry and his wife to leave royal duties and move to California. I think Meghan just didn't want a life full of duty. And, you know, duty can be very boring. Within the context of the British royal family, duty means things like opening hospitals in obscure towns, waving endlessly at crowds, and just, you know, she's an actress. I think for her, a more glamorous, dynamic, exciting lifestyle is infinitely preferable. And apart from the fact that I don't really believe that she suffered as much as she claims. In fact, I would say that her marriage to Harry made her, though she would like us to think that her marriage to Harry almost broke her. I think it's made her, because she wasn't a terribly important actress before. But, you know, I have a number of issues with them. One is the fact that they chose to bare their souls and diss their family publicly and, you know, in front of a global audience at a time when Harry's grandfather, the Duke of Edinburgh, was literally dying in hospital. I mean, he was in his 90s. And even his grandmother, who seemed pretty healthy at the time, I mean, how healthy can an elderly woman who's nearly 100 years old be? So, you know, I mean, but even if the grandparents had been much younger, like in their 70s or 60s or whatever, I would still have disapproved. Because I think families are complex, you know, organizations, they're units. They're full of all kinds of dysfunctions, at least most families are, I know mine is. And just because you or your wife have had issues with some of your relatives doesn't mean you go on a global stage and tell everyone how awful they are. Meanwhile, because they have class and they are constrained by their positions to maintain a dignified silence, they can't go public and tell everybody how awful you are. Because, I mean, I'm guessing that Harry and Meghan are not that easy either, because nobody is perfect. I mean, we hear all kinds of stories about how many staff they cried when they were working for them and how many staff left in despair or distress. But let's just leave that aspect of things. I mean, I don't really know whether they're easy people to get along with, whether they're nice, or whether they're good employers or good people to hang out with. All I know is that I don't think they should have gone on to Oprah to talk about Harry's family like that. Another thing I have against Harry and Meghan is, oh, by the way, talking about this racism thing, one of the examples she gave of the terrible racism she suffered. I mean, she is an actress. So half of the things she says, I'm not entirely sure I can take them seriously as authentic feelings as opposed to, performances. She's an actress. And she said, she said to us, Oprah, someone even asked what color my baby would be. So I thought, that's not racism. I mean, in Nigeria, we were watching the whole drama of Meghan being pregnant and being the first black person to marry a senior level royal. And, many of us were also wondering what color the baby would be. I mean, Meghan is mixed race. And she's half white and half black. And even her black mother looks as if she might have a touch of whiteness somewhere in her ancestry. So, it's intriguing to figure out how a child that comes from such a union might look. Could look white, could look black, could look in between. Why is it racist for Harry's relatives to wonder what we here in Africa were also wondering, I mean, even if they wondered it in a bitchy way and we wondered it in a sort of innocent way, fact is, it's not evidence of massive racism for people to wonder what color the child of a mixed race marriage would be. I married a white man. I went through the same thing with people speculating about how my son would look, because even when the split is straight white and half black, I mean, like Dominic, my ex-husband, is 100% white and I am 100% black. So even when it's 50-50, no complications, no 3/4 black or quarter white or any of those mixtures. There's no knowing how the children will look. And it's an interesting topic. So, anyway, but possibly the two things that upset me most about Meghan and Harry is the way they've treated her father, a man in his 70s. He made one foolish mistake a few days before the royal wedding, and he has talked a bit too much, pouring his heart out to journalists about how Meghan cut him off and whatever problem he and Meghan had. But the truth of the matter is that they had started disrespecting this man long before he did anything wrong. Can you believe Harry has still not met that man? He never went to the man to ask for the daughter's hand in marriage, which, coming from a conservative family like the British royal family, would be normal to sort of like go and at least formally notify the girl's father that you wish to marry her. I mean, my ex-husband formally notified my father, and I think Meghan's father deserved at least the same level of consideration. And so Harry had never met him, but he'd been invited to come to the wedding, and he was supposed to show up like 5 days before the wedding. He had never met the boy who was going to marry his daughter. I mean, to me, that's the height of disrespect. How could Meghan allow that to happen? I mean, was she ashamed of him? Nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, he was an accomplished professional. He was a Hollywood sound man who had won a couple of awards. He had paid for her to go to the best schools. So, I just think they've treated him appallingly. And then he makes a couple of foolish mistakes, and then they haven't talked to him ever. So Harry has still not met that man, and he's never met his grandchildren. That is the 2 children Harry and Meghan have had since that time. And I just think it's appalling. It's appalling. Cold and horrible people. That's the way I see it. And another thing, I mean, my list of grudges against these two is quite long. Another thing is, Harry and his brother William lost their mother under very tragic circumstances. They'd been together, they'd been best friends, they'd been together for years. I'm sure there was sibling rivalry, I'm sure there were tensions. Prince William is the heir to the throne and would have received superior treatment. Anybody who has read Harry's book will see that he resented some of the superior treatment that his brother received because he was the heir to the throne. But hey, these things happen. He's your elder brother. He's the next king. Of course he's going to get a slightly better deal than you do. And it's not like he was suffering. Harry had a fantastic life. He was very much loved by the British public. He had all the frivolities and luxuries and wonderfulnesses that a rich, titled young man with royal blood would get in Europe or anywhere in the world. Wherever he went, whether it was the Caribbean or European countries, he'd be treated like a superstar. So any tension he may have around the fact that his brother was treated even better doesn't cut any ice with me. And what I saw growing up with them, if you like, in the UK was two boys who loved each other very much and were very close, whatever other tensions they may have from time to time. And then bam, this girl comes and their relationship is broken, probably forever. You know, there are women like that of all classes and all races. I have a friend who's an agony aunt, and she tells me that one of the problems she encounters most often in her post bag from people who write to her to ask for advice is from elderly parents whose son has cut them off because he married a girl who doesn't want him to have a relationship with his family. And so they are distraught because they miss their son, they don't have access to their grandchildren. This happens quite a bit in Europe. And of course, it can also happen in African countries. Though to be honest with you, in Nigeria, we're less likely to take nonsense from somebody, a newcomer. I mean, a family in Nigeria it's much more difficult here for a wife to come in and say, well, I don't like your brother, or I don't like your mother, I don't like your auntie, so let's stop talking to them and let's keep the children away from them. Most Nigerian men will not tolerate that nonsense. And most Nigerian mothers-in-law will deal with a girl like that, you know, quite ruthlessly. So, but you know, the Europeans are so much more reserved and polite. And the royal family stood by while Harry became increasingly alienated from them because he married a girl who said they were not good and she didn't like them. Maybe some of them were not good, who cares? Which family is full of good people? Which family doesn't have one or two annoying, horrible, bigoted people in it? You know? I mean, she said that Kate, Princess Kate, the Princess of Wales, was mean to her and cold and dismissive. Well, maybe she was. For all I know, Kate may be a racist. I have no idea. But why would you cut yourself off from your family because your sister-in-law is a pain in the ass? I mean, I really don't know. Very, very unhappy. Another thing about the two of them that irritates the hell out of me is the fact that Meghan's mother showed up at their wedding with not one single friend or relative. Not one.
Oh, you know.
Okay, so, gosh, it's getting dark. You're going to experience a tropical evening, but I better, you know, round up as... But I could talk about this topic for like an hour, but I have to round up because it's getting darker. We don't have any lights with us at the moment. So, one of the things that really shocked me was Meghan's mother showing up at the royal wedding when they got married on her own, not one single friend or relative, not one. I mean, who does that? There's something wrong with both of them, both Meghan and the mother. I understand from people who claim to know some members of her family or to have at least met them, that both on her father's side and on her mother's side, she has some perfectly decent black and white relatives. Some are professionals, some are just regular folks. People that you should be proud and happy to invite to your wedding. People who would be delighted to be at your wedding. I'm not talking about those toxic siblings, half-siblings on her father's side. Samantha, I've forgotten the name of the other one, who were always insulting her and being mean in public. I'm talking about the quiet ones who don't even talk. I'm talking about the uncle who got her a job at the American embassy in Argentina when she was, a young woman contemplating the possibility of a career in the American diplomatic corps rather than acting. That was apparently an ambition she had briefly as a youngster. She's got quite a few relatives, and I don't understand why she didn't invite any of them. Instead, she packed the place with big names she barely knew. I think, Oprah was there, all kinds of people who Meghan could not have known as well as she knew her relatives. And I'm shocked that the mother did not insist on coming with somebody. I mean, I don't know what they thought the world would think, and I don't know why the world has even overlooked the fact that as she pranced up the aisle in white, even though she had been married before, and that white thing is only meant to be for people who can pass as virgins, I don't understand why it was regarded as acceptable for the mother to be the only one from her family there. That was a big red flag for me. And I've always known since then that there's something iffy about those two. And no friend, no relative with the mother, no childhood, serious, hardcore childhood friends. I mean, like when I got married, there were people from my primary and secondary school, and normal people have friends dating back. Meghan only seems to be surrounded by all these wonderful, darling people that she met when she became an actress. I don't even want to go into the whole issue of her having been married before and the fact that her ex-husband is such a gentleman, everybody says so, that he has refused to tell people what being married to her was like. I'm not entirely sure that Harry is in a safe place being married to her, because she sounds to me like a very manipulative person who has problems with relationships. And finally, I don't understand, if she disrespects the British royal family, the British monarchy so much, why is she clinging to the title they gave her? Duchess of Sussex. I mean, if I were her, I would give that title up. I'd say, look, I don't like you people, you're racist or you're cold or whatever, and you can take your title, I'm not interested. If Harry wants to keep his, fine, he was born with it. But I don't need it because I'm a proud, independent black woman. But no, instead she clings to the title and is constantly trying to monetize it. So no, neither her. As for Harry, you may think that I've reserved most of my criticism for Meghan, because I do think that she is actually the main culprit here. But I also think he's a weakling. I think he's very treacherous, and I salute him for founding the Invictus Games, which is the event that led to him being invited to Nigeria. That's the games for disabled service people from the armed forces. That's a really good thing. I praise him for that. But generally, I'm extremely unimpressed by their behavior. And when they come to Nigeria, I will not be queuing up anywhere to shake their hands. All right? So, I'm sure many of you will disagree with me. So, tell me. Let's talk. Send me information.